Okay, hi everyone. Hello online people as well. Not sure where to wave to you, but I feel waved at. I'm Olivia, this is Ruby and Lindsey, and we together with Rosie have prepared this presentation on our lessons from the career of Leonie Sloman and what we can learn from her leadership in online learning design. So we will speak for about 20 minutes, and we'll try to do that with an air of celebration and energy, even though it's a bit of a sad situation that we're in. But we wanted to talk a lot about, firstly, give you some idea of what is King's Digital, and then also talk about the lessons from Leonie's leadership that we found when we started thinking about this presentation really spoke to the three main conference questions. And so we thought that would be a good structure to speak to. And we would like to include time at the end for any conclusions, comments, questions from you about what we've said or about Leonie herself. So just to give a few kind of introductory details about King's Digital, we are a department that sits within King's College London. And we started off as more of a startup kind of thing as King's Online in 2015. And these days, we are more of a core service collaborating with various academics across different faculties for producing online and blended, primarily master's programs with a wide reach, as you can see from the numbers on this slide. And these days, the department is made up of these three main teams. So we have operations, students, support and production, and the learning designers sit up there in the production team. So to say a little bit about Leonie, she obviously joined King's Digital in, she joined King's in 2012, and she became head of the online learning design team, having joined King's Digital in 2018. And I think, you know, as well as being a much respected and valued member of the team and of the department and of the university, she also built some incredible bridges across the learning design community in higher education across the UK, I think I could probably say. She and for those who don't know, she sadly passed away in December this past year, and she would never have promoted herself as much as we want to promote her legacy now, and that is why we felt so moved to make this presentation. And so, as I said, when we looked at the conference questions, we found a lot that we could say about her leadership regarding sustainability and engagement, well-being and sense of belonging and inclusion and empowerment. So we will speak to each of them in turn, and I will hand over to Lindsey to talk first about sustainability and engagement.
So Leonie was an ambitious person, both for herself, but mostly for us as her team. She was a long-term and high-level thinker, and she quietly influenced and implemented things. And we wanted to share some of the strategies that Leonie used to create some of the good foundations that she left behind, both for the learners that we support and for us as her team. So a huge part of Leonie's role was to ensure that our online students have a great learning experience on the programmes that we design and develop. So more of the pedagogy that she espoused will be covered by my colleague in some of the other slides. But I did want to mention one key approach here, which does contribute to our theme of engagement. Before Leonie joined our team, we didn't have a single core pedagogical approach, and Leonie quickly realised that this was vital, both to improve the student engagement and success, but also to help us as a team to articulate our aims and our value as professionals. Leonie did a lot of research into approaches and worked to clearly outline how an active learning pedagogy could be applied in our online education. And she developed a framework inspired by UCL's ABC methodology, which you can see on the slide here. Leonie endeavoured to give our students more opportunity to engage in activities such as investigation, practice, discussion and reflection, and to enhance their assessment readiness and develop their transferable skills. She was also keen on what she called active acquisition, whereby acquisition is made more purposeful with the addition of small prompts and checkpoints to encourage reflection. Leonie produced an exceptional paper on this, which you can find at the address on the slide. So having a robust pedagogical approach also helped us to make our courses more sustainable from the perspective of longevity. Learning designs based around interaction, critical thinking, and real-world application are likely to remain relevant and adaptable over time. Instead of relying on static content that quickly becomes outdated, active learning approaches encourage deeper engagement, allowing students to draw meaningful connections that extend beyond specific examples or technologies. So I want to move now to focus on Leonie's work as leader of our team. In the early days, our team had a startup type feel. It was new and exciting, and at times it was a bit turbulent and intense, as anyone who's worked in a newly set up team will be familiar with. Leonie's arrival in the team was a blessing in every sense. She came with a serene calmness which would come to define both her work and her leadership style. One of Leonie's first tasks in her senior role was to build a cohesive team of learning designers who felt pride and professionalism in the role of learning design. And for this, she drew not only on external recruitment, but also by supporting internal promotion. She did this through several schemes.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. So the uni established a mentorship program, first of all, for those interested in learning design. And so that was a taster day was first of all set up. So learning taster days were for those who are interested in learning design and those who are open to the wider university. People can come and sort of see what learning design was about. We set up some practical activities, and through those, sure.
I'm so sorry about that. As I'm sure you understand, it's a bit of a kind of emotional subject.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So yes, we do a mentoring program in our learning design team. So a little bit about what that looks like. The learning design mentor regularly meets with the mentee to introduce key tasks and responsibilities, and the mentees can shadow their mentor to observe course development in collaboration with our academics. They also get hands-on experience with tasks like storyboarding, and they receive guidance and feedback to support their development. The success of these schemes is evidenced by the fact that 4 of our learning design team over the years have been recruited following participation in mentoring integrity days. I think some of them might be here. So Leonie's support extended beyond recruitment, making her an outstanding manager who prioritised team engagement and enjoyment. She developed a comprehensive induction process for new learning designers, regularly updating it based on staff feedback. A key initiative that Leonie brought in was the buddying scheme, ensuring that new starters had a peer and not just a manager to support them. This addressed 2 challenges. Firstly, easing the anxiety of asking questions in a new role, and secondly, leveraging the team's first-hand knowledge of the job's nuances. By pairing new hires with experienced colleagues, Leonie fostered a welcoming and efficient induction experience. So what principles of sustainability and development can we learn from Leonie? That a clear, well-defined approach, whether in pedagogy, team development, or leadership, creates lasting impact. By embedding active learning principles, structured mentoring, and supportive induction processes, she built both sustainable learning experiences for students and a strong, engaged team.
Okay, so thank you to Rosie for preparing this section, which I will now present. So I'd like to share with you how Leonie's approach to learning design and leadership positively impacted the well-being of her colleagues at King's Digital, the academics that we work with, and students. Beginning with the learning design team, Leonie once described her interest in online pedagogy as almost an obsession. And as a result, she was committed to making sure that our approach was based on research and evidence-based methods. This structured approach makes a real difference to the well-being of our team because it helps LDs feel more confident and equipped when talking to academic colleagues. And it was fundamental in shaping a clear strategy for learning design at King's Digital. In terms of the students, Leonie also introduced us to the work of Dee Fink, a leading scholar in course design. Fink believes that learning should be significant, something that creates lasting change in students' lives. He created a taxonomy of 6 dimensions for significant learning, which you can see up here, and each of which deepens how we understand the world, ourselves, and others. Leonie had a background in psychology, so it's no surprise that she was drawn to this approach, which puts first the well-being of learners, something Leonie cared deeply about. And Leonie was always thinking about how to improve the online student experience, and she encouraged us to help online students feel connected and engaged. For example, making sure that modules included all those kinds of discussion activities and opportunities for active learning that Lindsey already spoke about. In terms of academic colleagues, Leonie recognised that many academic colleagues at King's were unsure about online courses, often seeing them as a challenge. And she wanted them to understand their potential and feel positive about working with the online team. So one of her main initiatives was to create a full set of resources and a supportive process of workshops. She was inspired, as we've said, by the ABC workshops developed at UCL, and she adapted these for King's Digital. Apparently in the old days, that involved also printing out huge amounts of cards and large sheets of paper to use in the workshops. I think I'm right in saying most of us use more digital tools these days, but yeah, I still miss cards sometimes. And she also developed online resources, including a teaching online module, which provided practical guidance for academics new to teaching online. If I can talk about Leonie as a leader of the learning design team, one important part of well-being is feeling psychologically safe. And Leonie's leadership style helped her team feel that way. And I will share some aspects of her leadership that made that possible. So firstly, as we've sort of established, Leonie instilled a feeling of professionalism in the learning designers, with her focus on this evidence and research-based approach, enabling people to feel more confident in their ways of working. She also showed her empathy and care for others in the way that she communicated, providing us with a wonderful role model, sharing her knowledge of online pedagogy in a very calm and accessible way, even when under pressure. She believed that empathy was an essential quality for learning designers to have and to be able to demonstrate, particularly in helping faculty feel supported when moving from face-to-face teaching to online. Leonie led in a very collaborative way and loved to discuss ideas with the team and always wanted to hear people's viewpoints. Regular weekly meetings were always opportunities to learn and discuss ways of working and research. She expanded some of the meetings to include other members of the King's Digital team, which obviously was a positive experience as it paved the way for those mentoring opportunities and for people to move into becoming learning designers themselves. It was always clear that Leonie was very proud and supportive of her team, instilling a feeling of belonging. There was a lot of laughter in meetings, and learning designers felt able to discuss openly with the team what had worked and what hadn't, and she encouraged us to learn and develop from both. Leonie was always highly professional, but she was also able finally to be authentic at work as well. She was open about her cultural background and would do things like bring in food to celebrate with us, like her delicious honey cake. And this in turn encouraged other people to feel that they could do the same. And as one colleague shared, Leonie made them comfortable bringing their true selves to work. To conclude this part, I believe that Leonie provides an inspiring model of leadership, which shows that it can be based in empathy and care for others. A friend of hers, who some of the team recently met, provided us with a lovely description of Leonie's qualities, saying that she had a gentle power. Leonie's approach to leadership and learning design at King's Digital directly improved the engagement, well-being and sense of belonging of students, academics and her team. And I'll now hand over to Ruby, who will talk more about inclusion.
Thanks. Yeah, that's fine. So I'll just wrap up by talking about the third aspect of the sort of theme of the conference about inclusion and empowerment, and I'll talk about sort of how the kinds of things that she encourages us to do from the student side, and then kind of things that she encourages or sort of design from on the colleague side. And I'll just sum it up first by saying that she ran the department using the same principles. She wanted us to use to design learning, so she believed that LDs should be the voice of the students. She advocating for protecting student time. So in design workshops, when we talk to academics, she always wanted us to make sure we remember that most of our students are part-time. We don't know what their circumstances are. They may be carers, they working full-time almost certainly, and so on. So sort of just being aware of their circumstances and then using that active learning approach in order to design in a way that sort of accounts for that. And also to work on an approach to inclusion that goes beyond accessibility, like mechanical or technical accessibility in terms of like, does this work for screen readers, although that's also really important, but also talk about inclusive activity design. So thinking about who does this activity exclude, thinking about access by international students in China, for example, behind firewalls and making sort of resources available. And to support that, she chose, like we said, like we showed already, Think Significant Learning Framework. And I think she chose it because it's rigorous and it helps with course design, but it also focuses on the aspects of human connection, care, and metacognition. Those are really important to her. And then the other element that she championed was the use of student-friendly learning outcomes. So making sure that those are written in a student-friendly language. And even though we don't often have influence on the module level ones, because those usually come sort of pre-done for us, we work really hard to make sure that we include weekly ones, so that the conversation focuses on what the students will do and not just on the content, which I thought was really lovely. We already mentioned the UCL's ABC workshops, which again sort of serve the same function. And in sort of later on, once we have some of those principles established, she also encourages us to go into student co-design, which is I think particularly challenging for us on an online context, because we're designing modules without actually knowing who the students are going to be. So how do we do co-design with them? And like, how do we leave enough room in the design of the module and the activities so that they can bring themselves and their circumstances, which is something we're still sort of trying to figure out. And on the colleague side, she essentially just wanted us to continue being learners ourselves. She also always wanted us to remember what it's like to be a learner. So she set up our meetings, the weekly or monthly learning design meetings. She invited other people from the university, other learning designers who worked in sort of similar roles where we talked about and shared experiences together. She invited experts to talk to us about accessibility, copyright assessment, and so on. And she really sort of worked really hard to make sure that there are some links and that we're sharing practice and sort of with a wider community in the university. She set up reading groups. So once a month, a pair of learning designers would pick a chapter from a book and present that theory to the rest of us, and really try and get us to like understand, distill that chapter and link it to our practice and design the workshops in a way that sort of work for everybody, which again puts us in a position of learners and makes us remember what it's like to be talked at for an hour and why that's unpleasant and what else can we do and how else and then how to take that knowledge and apply it in our own designs, which I thought was really lovely. So I think the most important lesson about inclusion and empowerment that I've learned from her is just to be the voice of the students, to be their advocate, and to remember that to put yourself in their position as much as possible. And I think she ran the department with that ethos.
Thanks. I'll just wrap up by saying that when I was presenting at RIDE last year, I didn't work at King's, but someone told me that I should, and I'm glad that I do. And part of what has, I think, made me so happy working there is this ethos that Leonie established. And it's not often you get to hear a presentation about leadership from people being led, rather than some kind of guru trying to sell you a magic potion for how to do everything. So I think it speaks to the quality of Leonie's leadership that we felt moved to do this. And I think the overarching principles that we can take from it is just practice what you preach, so that these principles are sort of lived and felt by the people doing the work as well as the students working on the courses. So yes, we would love to hear any comments and questions from you about anything that we've said.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much.